China says it will fight to the very end to prevent Taiwan from being declared independent. Speaking at a security meeting in Singapore, China's defence minister said any foreign interference is doomed to failure. He was referring to the United States.
The ongoing saga of the relationship between China and Taiwan is a fascinating and, at times, dramatic tale. It all began with the Chinese Civil War of 1946 to 1949, which ultimately led to the defeated ROC government fleeing to Taiwan and setting up shop there as the legitimate government of China. But things didn't end there. Oh no. China has always maintained that Taiwan is an inseparable part of its territory, while Taiwan has been equally adamant in maintaining its sovereign status. As if that wasn't enough, the two sides also have a complex economic relationship that is both vital and precarious. While they rely on each other for trade and economic growth, they also face disruptions and tensions due to Beijing's relentless pressure and Taiwan's growing concern about being overly reliant on China. So, what's the Chinese aggression on Taiwan all about this time? The conflict between China and Taiwan is a real-life drama that has been unfolding before our very eyes. According to CNN, it all comes down to a dispute over the sovereignty of Taiwan, a self-governing island that Beijing claims as part of its territory. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. In recent years, the conflict has escalated to new heights due to China's unrelenting military and diplomatic pressure on Taiwan and the US's growing support for the island's defense and democracy. It's a high-stakes game of political chess, with both sides vying for dominance and seeking to outmaneuver the other. Will China succeed in its bid to reclaim Taiwan, or will Taiwan manage to maintain its hard-won independence and autonomy? And what role will the US play in all of this? These are just some of the burning questions that keep analysts and experts up at night. The Chinese government's aggression towards Taiwan has been escalating in recent years, and some of the tactics they have employed are nothing short of jaw-dropping. From sending hundreds of warplanes into Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone, ADIZ, to conducting large-scale military exercises near the island. It's clear that China is willing to flex its military muscle to achieve its goals. But it's not just military might that China is using to intimidate Taiwan. They are also actively opposing any official contacts or exchanges between Taiwan and other countries, especially the US, and even pressuring other countries to cut diplomatic ties with Taiwan. And if that wasn't enough, China is also undermining Taiwan's participation in international organizations and events, such as the World Health Organization and the Olympics. The issue of Taiwan is one that has long simmered beneath the surface of Chinese politics, and it's clear that Beijing is not afraid to use force to achieve its aims. In fact, China has become quite vocal in its claims that Taiwan is its own territory, and that it has the right to bring it under its control by any means necessary. But perhaps the most insidious tactic that China is using in the spreading of disinformation and propaganda to influence public opinion in Taiwan and abroad, by manipulating the media and controlling the narrative, China hopes to sow division and confusion and ultimately achieve its long-term goal of unifying Taiwan with the mainland. The Chinese military's latest statement regarding Taiwan is nothing short of alarming. According to reports, the military recently concluded a series of exercises, and in a statement that followed, they made it clear that they were more than ready to take on any threat to Chinese sovereignty, especially with regard to Taiwan. Their words were forceful and unequivocal. Our troops can fight at any time to resolutely smash any form of Taiwan independence and foreign interference attempts. This is a clear indication that China is not backing down on its claims to Taiwan and is willing to use force to achieve its aims.
Taiwan temperatures peak in the Taiwan Strait.
China is raising the specter of war again, all because Taiwan's president had a meeting.
The statement has sent shockwaves through the international community, and many are wondering what the future holds for the Taiwan issue. Will China actually follow through on its threats of military action? Or is this just another example of posturing and bluster? The issue of Taiwan has long been a thorn in the side of Chinese diplomacy, with Beijing insisting that other countries recognize its sovereignty over the island as a precondition for any sort of diplomatic relations. It's all part of China's One China principle, which holds that Taiwan is an inalienable part of Chinese territory. But the situation is far from simple, as Taiwan has its own government and economy and has shown little interest in being brought under China's control. In fact, when China proposed the one country, two systems option as a possible solution, Taiwan quickly rejected it, citing concerns about the erosion of freedoms and rights in Hong Kong, which adopted this model back in 1997. The rejection of China's proposal has only added fuel to the fire. And can this tension lead to a potential war? The tension between China and Taiwan is like a ticking time bomb, with the potential to erupt into a full-blown conflict at any moment. The question on everyone's mind is, will there be a war, and if so, when? Predicting the likelihood and timing of a military attack by China on Taiwan is an incredibly complex task, as it would depend on a wide range of factors. These could include China's domestic politics, economic situation, military readiness, perception of Taiwan's intentions, and pressure from the international community. Some experts believe that a war between China and Taiwan is inevitable, while others are more optimistic, pointing to the strong economic ties between the two regions as a possible deterrent. The prospect of a military invasion of Taiwan by China is a daunting one, with many analysts predicting that such a conflict could be bloody and costly for both sides. While China has a clear military advantage in terms of number and firepower, taking Taiwan would not be an easy feat and would likely result in a prolonged and devastating conflict. Taiwan, for its part, has been making significant efforts to modernize its military and enhance its defensive capabilities. The island nation has been purchasing large quantities of advanced weaponry and military assets from the US, including fighter jets, missiles, and naval vessels, in an effort to deter Beijing from making a move. As tensions continue to rise between China and Taiwan, many experts believe that China has a variety of tools at its disposal to increase pressure on the island nation. While a full-scale military invasion remains a possibility, there are other options that China could pursue that would not necessarily lead to an all-out war. For example, China could launch limited military campaigns to seize islands just off Taiwan's coast or initiate blockades of Taiwan's ports to disrupt the island's trade. These actions would test Taiwan's and the US's resolve and response without necessarily triggering a larger conflict. In addition to military options, China could also pursue economic measures to increase pressure on Taiwan. Economic quarantines, in which China would restrict trade with Taiwan, could have a devastating impact on the island's economy, potentially pushing it to the brink of collapse. Some analysts also suggest that China may not be ready to invade Taiwan anytime soon due to various challenges and risks. These include domestic issues such as economic slowdown and political repression, international backlash over human rights violations and territorial claims, and military uncertainty regarding Taiwan's defense and the US's commitment. The possibility of a war between China and Taiwan is not straightforward, as it hinges on multiple factors. These include China's assessment of the benefits versus costs of using force against Taiwan, Taiwan's response to China's pressure, the US's involvement in Taiwan's security, and the international community's reaction. But perhaps there's a war. What are the measures taken by the West to deter any military action on Taiwan? The West, particularly the US, has been flexing its muscles to keep China at bay when it comes to Taiwan. They've been doing this in a number of ways, such as selling arms to Taiwan to beef up its defense, carrying out military drills with allies in the Indo-Pacific region to show China they mean business, and expressing their commitment to help Taiwan defend itself if necessary. Moreover, the US has reaffirmed its commitment to help Taiwan defend itself under Taiwan Relations Act of 1979 and the Six Assurances of 1982. This has been accompanied by vocal support for Taiwan's meaningful participation in international organizations and events such as the World Health Organization and the Olympics. Finally, the US has encouraged dialogue and peaceful resolution of cross-strait issues while opposing any unilateral change of status quo by force or coercion. As tensions continue to simmer in the region, it will be interesting to see how these measures play out in the coming years. But what about the tension in the South China Sea and Chinese aircraft flying into Taiwan's airspace very regularly? China has been making territorial claims in the South China Sea, asserting its sovereignty over almost the entire area, despite conflicting claims from other countries like Brunei, Malaysia, the Philippines, Taiwan, and Vietnam. This has resulted in increased tensions in the region, with Chinese aircraft regularly flying into Taiwan's airspace and conducting military drills. The situation has raised concerns among neighboring countries and the international community, as China's territorial claims and military activities in the region could potentially disrupt the balance of power in the Indo-Pacific. China has made some significant moves in recent years that have raised eyebrows across the globe. One of these moves is the construction of artificial islands in the region, particularly on disputed features such as the Spratly and Paracel Islands. Not only have these artificial islands been used for civilian purposes, but China has also established military bases on them, further fueling tensions in the region. The situation has become increasingly complicated as the United States and other countries have challenged China's claims, leading to heightened tensions and potential risks of military conflict. China has been sending warplanes, including fighter jets and bombers, into Taiwan's air defense identification zone almost daily since last year. These actions have been widely criticized as an attempt to intimidate, coerce, or threaten Taiwan and its allies, such as the US and Japan. And is Taiwan doing anything about it? Taiwan is responding to China's provocations with some strategic moves of its own. Taiwan has been scrambling its own jets to intercept and warn off the intruders, which is no small feat, considering the frequency of China's military maneuvers near its airspace. In addition, Taiwan has been enhancing its air defense systems, buying more weapons and equipment from the US, and seeking more international support and recognition for its sovereignty and security. Despite its small size, Taiwan has been punching above its weight in the face of China's aggressive tactics, displaying remarkable resilience and determination. The situation has highlighted the importance of diplomatic and military alliances in the Indo-Pacific region, with Taiwan relying heavily on support from the US and other countries to counter China's military might. As the situation continues to evolve, it will be interesting to see how Taiwan's response to China's provocations plays out, and whether it will be able to successfully defend its sovereignty and maintain its independence. Let us know what you think in the comment section. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay up to date on the latest news about what's happening in the world today. Thanks for watching.